These are the introductory slides to Visual Thinking Art 350 at Loyola Marymount University for spring 2013. There are three components to the class: perception, and the notion is that artists have sort of elevated sense of visual perception; culture, and this will focus on contemporary art culture; and creating, and rather than being a vague sort of mystical study of creating, we are going to learn 16 tactics for being more creative in any setting. We're not just going to read about art, and we're not going to look at slideshows of art. We're going to see the art in person, and we're going to learn about the process of art making by actually making pieces. Some things communicate more efficiently than the written word or a spreadsheet full of numbers. And sometimes we forget that the architecture of our environment can actually be a form of thinking, even though very few of the buildings that we spend time in are designed by architects or artists. What I like best about looking at a visual work of art is that I instantly get the totality of it, but if it's a great piece of work, I could look at it for years and still learn things. I believe visual literacy is becoming increasingly important because our world is often about spending a lot of time on the internet, which is dominated by images more than words. Reading, writing, and arithmetic are important, but I think our world is changing to a place that's dominated by images. I think it's obvious that some people learn better from images than they do from text. An example would be if I saw my accountant and they showed me a chart about my finances or an investment principle, I'd learn a lot more from that chart than I would from looking at a spreadsheet full of numbers. I think I would understand the numbers, they just wouldn't affect and change me very much. If you made a pie chart with 6 or 7 types of intelligence that mapped where you're at the moment, what would it look like? It would be different than other people's, and it would also be changing from month to month. What this phrase means is that I so often have people that say, I'm not a good artist, and I know that that always means that somebody told them they didn't know how to draw a horse well, or they attempted to draw a picture of a person when they were young and somebody said it didn't look very good. In fact, the concerns of contemporary art have little to do with things like representational drawing skill. It's a very nice ability to have, but it's completely unessential in order to succeed as a contemporary artist. I've designed the projects in the class to be open-ended and free so that people can add their own interests and hopefully produce more energy and investment in the objects that they make. We're going to use many forms of object making and art making, but the one we're not going to use is we're not going to be drawing. I'm not going to put out a still life of fruit and ask people to draw a picture with charcoal that looks more or less like the fruit. The most common way to damage your creative ability is to try and simultaneously critique an idea while you generate options. An example of this would be, I'd like to go on a trip to Europe this summer, and the next thing that comes to mind is the pragmatist saying, but I've only got 3 days off and I've only got $300. And what I encourage people to do is, instead of thinking about their limitations, think about what they dream of doing, and that tends to lead to finding a path to actually achieve it. I don't really have arguments with people about the value of art. It's important to me. One of my favorite quotes was the folk rock singer Annie DeFranco, and she said, "I don't know what art is, but it's the main reason I get up every morning." One of the most tedious aspects of being around artists that are sort of victimized is that they complain about all the things they're not allowed to do. They establish projects that they can't afford to make, and I find that irrational, because an artist like Kurt Schwitters, after Germany had been destroyed in World War I, picked up junk from broken buildings and cast away tram tickets, and he made amazing artworks.